Neil's about to graduate from high school, which has left his parents fearing for his future. However, NBACL was able to ensure Neil remains an active member in his community.
In the beginning, when we found out Neil did have a disability, we didn't have a lot of support. Nobody seemed to understand what we were going through as a family. Nobody in our family had ever gone through it before.
6.5 years ago when NBACL first walked into our home, we were at our wits' end, or I was at my wits' end.
When I look at Neil, if I was on the outside looking in, one of the first things I see is his pleasant personality, that he's happy, that he likes to be around people, and he likes to be taking part in things. 2011
is a huge year in our household. Our son Neil has done school, so he graduates this year along with his 18-year-old sister, so it's a doubly busy time of year for us. With the graduation coming and Neil leaving the school system, it's created some huge stressors in our life, not knowing what's going to happen with Neil. The alternatives are very scary.
It would be difficult if Neil was home with me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It would be difficult for Neil. He wouldn't be social with any peers. He wouldn't be out in the community. He'd be stuck at home doing nothing.
If we can no longer look after Neil, what happens with our son? The government says he can go to a special care home or a nursing home, but that's not in his community. That's not what we want for our son. NBACL's got us in partnership with some community leaders, and hopefully we can create a position for Neil somewhere where he's involved in his own community. If Neil had to go to a facility to live out the rest of his days, my personal feeling inside, it would be a huge failure on my part. It's been said by many people that it takes a community to raise a child. So not only is it a failure on my part, if you look at the greater community as a whole, have we really done our part for this child growing up in our community?
At 40 years old, John's parents could no longer support him in the family home. The only alternative available was a nursing home placement. But because of NBACL, John now lives in his own apartment with the supports he needs.
John was the firstborn of the triplets, and when he was born, we had no idea of how many were. We thought it was just one child, one pregnancy, and so John was born and put away, and then they said, okay, relax, the placenta and everything. But then it wasn't a placenta, it was another baby, and in the shock of that, then they sort of ignored John, and he had a blue spell.
Mostly it's just the physical business of looking after them, but then in addition to that, you have the job of trying to make things better for them, because there are all kinds of challenges. But
by the time they were 3, I was utterly exhausted, and we started to look for somewhere. Oh, it was heartbreaking. John has been in the William F. Roberts for a year while we went to Germany for sabbatical. When we came back, Janet used to sing a song to John, and he would laugh and smile, and she said it broke her heart, and she never told me this until the last few years, that when she sang this song to John when we came back, and he just ignored her. He was just out of it. He was almost dead when we picked him up. As far as we know, we were the first family in New Brunswick to have somebody who is as disabled as John in an apartment such as this, as you see around you.
His quality of life here is excellent. In some ways, I sort of feel badly about this, is better than when he was at home in some ways, in that he meets more people here.
So Jobs Unlimited puts guys out there like John. John goes to the forestry complex. NBACL is a background, and somehow NBACL, we need to raise their image of the way they support us as parents. I think is one of the most wonderful things that has happened, that John lives in a place like this, or with a worker like Tara. I'm convinced it's been God's answer to our prayers.
After many years of closed doors, NBACL was able to support Kyle with a successful transition from school to work.
Kyle has always had an outgoing personality. Kyle has always, for some reason, since he was an infant, people have been drawn to him. Maybe it's because you never know what he's going to do, what he's going to say. He's always a lot of fun.
Well, Kyle, as Joni was saying, has always been very social. Always had a lot of friends.
Because Kyle was such high needs and we were always being called to the school, what we decided as a family was it would be best if Kyle came with me.
It was very frustrating to try to get help and to have everybody close doors on you.
Just before Kyle was going into grade 12, in July, I got a phone call. And it was a lady on the other end. She called herself Lynn. And Lynn said, I'm from New Brunswick Association for Community Living. We have a pilot project that's going to be started. I think it's called Transition to Work program. And we were wondering if you would be interested in Kyle participating in this program. And she said what we're going to be doing is giving, on-the-job training. We're going to give some, resume training, some job skills training. As soon as I found it out, I picked up the phone. I don't even think I waited a minute. I picked up the phone and I called my husband and I said, Colin, I just got this phone call from Lynn Ackmans, New Brunswick Association for Community Living. There's this new program starting at FHS, and can Kyle, she wanted to know if Kyle could be part of it, and I just said, absolutely, yes. So I was very, very excited.
But I remember Joni telling me, and I thought, yeah, right. Someone's going to actually step in and finally give us some help. I didn't believe it.
Once Lynn started working with Kyle and he was able to go to his new place of employment, Sport Chek, Kyle would come home. He was excited. He couldn't wait to share with us what he was doing.
I hear from people almost daily. I've been into Sport Chek and I seen Kyle this morning. Or I'm going over to Sport Chek to buy a hockey stick. Is Kyle there this morning? We walk into Sport Chek and there's his picture on the wall. And everyone in the store, all of his coworkers, they know Kyle and they look for him and they like Kyle.
I like Sport Chek is good job ever.
We still don't have a complete break because we do still have Kyle. And I guess I'm only really reminded of that when I hear my coworkers say, oh, we're going away for the weekend, we're going here, we're going there. And it's like, oh, you're really lucky because I can't do that. And it's not that I feel sorry for myself. It's just because I don't think about it on a day-to-day basis. It's just every once in a while when I stop to think, the reality sets in.
It's those little things. It's having an hour or half an hour. It's going for a walk. It's going to the malls, walking through the mall, and just being able to do it, together. Joni and I were married 27 years, and it's been tough. I see it now. I see a future for him, and for Joni and I, and it's good for Kyle. He loves it. He talks every day about having his own apartment, and I can see it happening.
Who would have ever thought? Kyle has his own bank card. Kyle has his own bank account. Kyle has a job. Kyle really, on paper, sounds like your typical 21-year-old.
I guess if I had the chance to say something to people, it would be that if you own a business or are in a position that you could help somebody, why not help a person with a disability? Why not give a person with a disability a chance to work for you? Why not give a person with a disability to have a job in your community? Why not give a person with a disability a chance at real life?
The public need to know just how much NBACL does support us as parents, and just what a whole wealth of knowledge and depth of experience they have.
I don't know, and I don't want to even think about what would have happened if Kyle hadn't had this opportunity. You know, he's 21. He probably still would have been sitting in high school somewhere, not happy. And now he's out living a wonderful, truly fulfilling life.